Well, hello there, all you absolutely magnificent people, and welcome back to another episode of An Ecologist Plays, where we talk about nature while playing games. My name is Will, I'm an ecologist by training, and we are back in Coral Island. And as you can see here, our farm is looking particularly sparse, with just a few sugar canes still standing. The rest of the crops have all been harvested because, well, as you can see there right at the top, this is the last day of spring, so by tomorrow, everything is going to die back in any case. Now, interesting that the sugar cane actually will die back at the end of spring, because they are a summer growing grass. They are a typical C4 grass, and C4 just meaning that they've got a very nice way to photosynthesize, where they lose less water during hot, drier conditions, which they would typically experience during summer. So they're not a winter growing grass like a lot of your crops actually are. They are a C4 grass, and you'll find C4 grasses typically in your savanna ecosystems, where they will be growing during summer when it is hot and then wet as well. But in order to conserve water, they actually have a 4-carbon compound that they produce during photosynthesis instead of a 3-carbon compound during a certain part of photosynthesis. So whereas other grasses are C3 grasses, these are C4 grasses. So I do find it strange that they're actually going to completely die away when summer hits, which will be tomorrow. Now we're actually going to make it tomorrow. Now, interesting to note here that, yeah, we do have a little piece of wood that popped up here, and of course our sugarcane died back, but we didn't lose any of the soil. And you may have noticed, I forgot to mention that, you may have noticed that I actually watered all the squares regardless of whether there was anything growing on it, and that was to ensure that the soil doesn't actually dry out and potentially disappear. So there was method in the madness there. And it does somewhat mimic what would happen in real life. You don't want your soil to dry out because, well, if it dries out, it could perhaps erode away when wind blows and all kinds of bad things can happen. So as an ecologist, you want to keep the soil perhaps not wet or moist the whole time, because that's also not necessarily good. You can have excessive leaching of nutrients, but you don't want to leave the soil barren. In other words, exposed, like it would be if you have harvested all your crops. You want to either put down mulch, which we cannot do in the game, or what I try to do, just keep the soil nice and moist so that it doesn't degrade while you are not growing crops on it. But now, it is time for us to finally get our summer crops growing. So we're just going to very quickly head on over to Sam's shop, and let's see what he will sell us. Oh, radishes, gardenias, sunflowers, tomatoes, blueberries, starfruit, melon, wheat, corn, okra, bell peppers, hot peppers. Wow, a whole bunch of stuff. Now we can also get some fruit trees here, and we're not going to do that yet. So some here, like the bananas, the rambutan, and the plum, they will actually die completely at the end of summer, whereas the dragon fruit, the jackfruit, and the papaya, they will die at the end of fall. So yeah, at most we'll have 2 seasons to actually harvest fruit from them, and I would much rather plant these once we have the greenhouse. So it's going to still be a bit, but I am going to go for things that will actually grow and produce fruit multiple times rather than just once off. So we're going to grab, I think, let's just grab 3 of these. So to these ones here, and some okra, really nice. I do like okra, haven't had a lot of it before, and I know they can be extremely slimy, but I'm sure we'll chat about that when we get to it. Corn here, we're going to need to grow a bit more, I think. Let's grab 15 seeds. Wheat also, let's grab 15. So these plants that I can only harvest once, we're going to buy more of them. I did not buy radishes this time around. We'll have to come back for that in a moment. And again, we are going to plant them interspersed with one another. We're not going to have neat little rows of them in general. We're not going to have neat little rows of them in general. We are going to actually plant them all over the show. Okay, so apart from the gardenia seeds, which I think are these white ones here, the rest are all the perennial species. And you can see that I've kind of spaced them out all over the place. They're not just clumped together in one little cluster. The idea being that we'll have a whole bunch of these annual plants interspersed with him, but no matter how many plants we actually harvest, how many of the annual plants we harvest, we'll always have some perennial plants still present, still flowering, still fruiting, still doing their things. So again, we're just going to, in this case, maybe I shouldn't actually have planted the sunflower everywhere, because apparently sunflowers are a little bit allelopathic, meaning that they actually produce compounds that prevent other plants from germinating or from growing well around them. So may actually have wanted to plant them a little bit on their own. Not that they are extremely allelopathic. Some plants are far more allelopathic than they are, but it could still be potentially seen as a problem in some cases. Some plants are just more sensitive to allelopathy than others. So allelopathy just being that production of some kind of chemical very often to either prevent germination or prevent growth and survival of other plants. Some cases it works against seedlings of your own kind. In many cases it works against seedlings of other species, because you may want individuals of your own species still surviving, but not other species establishing or growing around plants of your species. Now, the nice thing about being in a new season is, of course, that we have a whole bunch of new critters to catch, like this dragonfly coming right to us. And I'm so glad it's coming to us, because that would be a challenge to catch by walking up to it. Maybe not in the game here, but in real life. Man, oh man, they have excellent eyesight. The dragonfly's eyes really extending to the front of the head, and that's one of the things that makes them a little bit different from damselflies, where the damselfly eyes are actually located right to the end of the head, right on the sides of the head, whereas dragonfly eyes actually almost merging in the center of the head there. Really, really, really good eyesight. Compound eyes, of course, these, so even though it looks like they have little pupils here, they don't really have pupils. If you do see a darkish dot in there, and you'll see that with the mantis as well, maybe not in the game but in real life, you'll see it looks like they've got a pupil. That's what we call a pseudopupil. It's not actually a pupil. Instead, it's just the way that those hexagonal compound eyes work, that light goes in but doesn't come back out again, so it doesn't get reflected out. And it's when that particular one of those little eyes in part of the compound eye actually is looking right at you, that is when it appears to have a bit of a pupil looking in your direction. Really, really cool. But yeah, the dragonflies, excellent eyesight. They are really the masters of the sky. They are, of course, predatory, and they're predatory even as little larvae, really, really ferocious predators in the aquatic environment. So as juveniles that live in ponds and rivers and lakes and any water body they can find. We even have in our swimming pool that we haven't put chlorine in quite a few months, we even have dragonfly larvae in there. And they're kind of eating all the other invertebrates that they can possibly find that are calling our swimming pool home. Things like mosquito larvae are really being eaten by those dragonfly there, which I am really, really a fan of. But not the mosquito larvae, the fact that dragonfly larvae are eating the mosquito larvae. But then they metamorphose, and then they turn into these ferocious predators of the sky. I mean, you simply cannot not love that little thing over there. I do quickly want to check, before we do anything else, I do want to check what do we need to offer this season. So we do need shallots, we need hibiscus, blueberries, which we are growing at the moment, hot peppers, and of course sunflowers, but the sunflowers need to be bronze quality. So we can look for at the moment would be shallots and hibiscus. So let's take a little bit of a gander over to the mine and see if we find any of those two on the way there, shall we? Well, I did find a ground beetle, which is really awesome. So this does appear to be a bit of a poisonous or dangerous species. They really resemble the CMR beetles we have in South Africa, which will spray a chemical on you that will cause blisters. And you can see here with a dark black color with the orange dots there, and that is typical aposematic coloration. And we just kind of dug that one out from the ground. And it says there that they are fond of rocks and logs. Yeah. You know, typical little invertebrate, likes hiding away, doesn't want to be in any particular in danger really. So they want to be hidden away, and the best way to do that is simply be under something. There's another little beetle over here, which is this soldier beetle, and they're also popping up all over the show now that we are in summer. Brighter colors as well, quite iridescent it seems, and it says that they are an excellent pollinator. Really interesting that they mention that they are an excellent pollinator, because generally beetles are, in most cases, really poor pollinators. And the reason for that kind of twofold. First of all, a lot of the times the beetles are actually there to eat the pollen. They're not really there to pollinate the flowers. Instead, they want to eat the pollen. And what happens then inadvertently, they actually have pollen stuck to their bodies, and then they have a chance of potentially pollinating another flower. But it's not that they are doing it on purpose, and they're really good pollinators as a result of that. It's really accidental. While they are munching the thing that they should be dispersing during pollination, they inadvertently will pollinate some flowers. And we've got another Luna moth, I think, flying around there. And the second reason why they are generally poor pollinators is because they have generally got smooth bodies. They really don't have a lot of fur or hair on them to trap pollen, or to which pollen can get stuck. And instead, they've got relatively smooth bodies, which just means that the pollen has very few places to actually attach to for successful pollination then. There are some exceptions though. You can, for example, find things like monkey beetles, which are quite cool. They're quite good pollinators, especially for plants in the daisy family. And you can also have things like the Protea chafer, which we have here in South Africa, in the Western Cape, for example. Here in the southern part of South Africa, where I am, we've got them. They've got very hairy bodies, and as they dig into Protea flower heads, they will get pollen stuck to their hairy bodies, and in the process then when they go into another one of those flower heads, they get to pollinate that flower head there. Now, we did just catch the tiger swallowtail butterfly. Says that they're named for the tiger stripes on their wings. Now, the swallowtail butterflies, I do love them. Some species, like the citrus swallowtail, they will lay their eggs on citrus trees, so on lemons and stuff like that, you'll find them. But overall, the swallowtails here, you can see the nice little bit of the wing extending there at the back. That is a defense mechanism. It is providing birds and other predators with a target. So it's quite possible that as they are flying through the air, that the birds will try to catch them, that some birds will try to catch them, things like flycatchers and so, and there's a chance that they actually grab them here by the back section of the wing here. And generally, it's quite easy to tear that off, so as the bird tries to catch the butterfly here, they accidentally grab the swallowtail here, in essence, and they rip that off, and the butterfly gets away. So they sacrifice a little part of their wing to then escape. And I mean, yeah, I would take that. So you sacrifice a part of you to, not die. And that's a win. That's an absolute win. Now, unlike the tail of a lizard, that will not grow back. So it's kind of a single use, but sometimes that single use is all you need in order to then go and procreate and actually pass on your genes still. Oh, look at that. We got a whelk as well. So, interesting. Oh, I love the fact that I mentioned that it is carnivorous. There are so many carnivorous whelk species. Yes, there are some that are herbivorous, but a lot of them are actually carnivorous. They are snails, very often specializing in taking out other snails. So they're marine snails, okay, so they're not on land. Whelks are marine snails, sometimes in estuaries as well, but they are found in saltwater environments generally. And they do specialize in taking out other snails. So they specialize in going for slow prey because, well, they are also slow. In some cases, they actually go for prey that don't move at all, that are stationary. And in some species, they will use their radula, their rasping mouth parts, to actually drill a neat little hole into the shell of their prey. In other cases, they actually produce concentrated sulfuric acid and pour that down the tubes of their prey. Things like the Argobuccinum whelk, they can do that. Really, really gruesome. I'm sure we'll chat about that at some point because it's one of my favorite things to chat about. Let's give this little whelk a nice home so it doesn't have to stay in the trash can. It can actually come into the museum here and come and stay here, along with the ground beetle, the soldier beetle, and the dragonfly that also now live at the museum. But look at this colorful display of seeds and fertilizer we have over here. Now, there are some sections where I did plant the same seeds next to one another, like the 3 radishes in a row here, but generally we've got a whole variety of seeds interspersed with one another in this nice little farm setup we've got here. Now, I'm very excited to actually get the coop, so let's make it daytime. And interesting, we can actually upgrade our house if we have all the materials we need, and that way we can get a nice kitchen to actually cook some food in as well. So we are going to get that, but it's not going to be now. We're first going to get a coop, and then we are going to check what we need in order to actually upgrade our house. Oh wow, 2 4-leaf clovers next to one another. Oh, and we got a Rafflesia. That's actually the second Rafflesia I have gotten today. The other one was off screen, but I did get another Rafflesia. I'll chat about them in a moment. Let's see, there is a little caterpillar crawling around here. A red admiral. Lovely. I do believe I did catch one off screen already. It says here not actually red despite its name. Now, the red admiral is the caterpillar, in this case the little caterpillar we have got here, belongs to a very nice butterfly. Now, to me, very interestingly, the red admiral, one of the host plants the caterpillars actually love being on, is the stinging nettle, also the false nettle. But you can imagine, being on a stinging nettle provides you with a bit of protection against predators who may not want to enter the nettle thicket to get to you. So that's a nice little way of trying to protect yourself. And that brings up 2 points. First of all, even if the caterpillars here were to feed on your crops, they would still eventually turn into butterflies, which would pollinate your plants and your flowers in your garden. So there's a bit of a trade-off. You can let them eat your crops, and not necessarily the red admiral here, but caterpillars in general, you can let them eat your crops, but then they may return the favor by pollinating your plants, which is great. And we often have caterpillars in our garden eating our crops. In some cases, cabbage white butterflies, which can really be destructive, they will eat a lot of our cabbage plants. They will feed on that, but at the same time, birds will eat them. They will have parasitic wasps laying their eggs in them. And when they become butterflies, they will then pollinate your plants in your garden. So it's a bit of a trade-off. You lose some veggies, but you get pollination, which is great. I like that. But secondly, it brings up the point that with them preferring nettles and actually being in nettles, if you take out all the nettles on your property, then where are these red admiral caterpillars going to survive? So there is method from an ecological point of view, leaving the weeds. Because weeds, they are there for a reason. And one of the reasons could be that they would be housing invertebrates like the little red admiral caterpillar here. Anyway, just food for thought. We are here to actually first get a coop. I did forget the stone and the fiber. I'll go and grab that now. While we are here though, let's also check for the house upgrade. We also need wood, we need stone, and we need some more bronze bars. So we will eventually get that, but it is not going to be now. Alright, I am back, Dinda. I am here to get the coop. And we're going to place the coop right over here in the area we have prepared for it. Now what I do find interesting is that the red admiral caterpillar we have here belongs to the Vanessa genus of butterflies, and one of the most, if not, I think it is actually the most widely distributed butterfly in the world, Vanessa cardui, is the painted lady butterfly, and you find that on almost all continents. But the red admiral, that one is confined to the northern hemisphere. You'll find it in North America, the Caribbean islands, Asia, Europe, and I think maybe North America, but that is it. You don't find them in sub-Saharan Africa, you don't find them in Australia, you don't find them in South America. What we're going to donate is the red admiral over here. We're not going to donate the firefly, we're actually going to offer the firefly, as likewise we are going to offer the pipevine swallowtail butterfly. I just want to quickly check the little wood satyr butterfly. That one can be donated instead of offered. Now we are just going to donate this little wood satyr butterfly, and then we're going to go offer the firefly and this pipevine swallowtail butterfly. And that'll be here. We've got day insect, we've got the pipevine swallowtail butterfly, and in terms of night insect we have the firefly. As you can see in our chest here, we do have 3 Rafflesias here. So these are the stinking corpse lily, I believe they are called, and it says there that this parasitic plant has enormous stinky flowers. So yeah, that is indeed the case. I would love to actually see one of these in real life. I have never, but they are quite rare. They are, well, not quite rare, they are very rare. So there are a few species of Rafflesia. This one appears to be one of the larger species that we can find on Earth. And the idea being that they produce a horrible smelling compound, generally here in the central part, which then of course attracts flies. And the flies will then come to this stinking corpse lily, thinking it is a corpse. And they will muck around on the inside here, get pollen stuck on them, and they fly off and hopefully go visit another one of these stinking corpse lilies, and then go and pollinate that. And it says that it is parasitic. Now this plant is what we call a holoparasite. They can't photosynthesize, they get all the nutrients, all the water, everything from their host plant. The only part of the plant you'll ever see are these flowers. They start out as a big ball. It looks kind of like a very brown cabbage, and then it opens up eventually to reveal this striking red and white or red and yellow flower. Really, really awesome. And I think, as far as I recall, it is the largest simple flower in all the world. The only other flowers that are bigger than this would be things like the Titan arum, which isn't just a flower, that's actually a whole collection of flowers. It's a whole inflorescence. But the stinking corpse flower here, it is the largest simple flower in the world. But yeah, I think that is actually a good spot to end today's episode, everybody. So next time we'll actually get our chickens and our ducks perhaps, and we'll also carry on and go diving and doing all kinds of weird and wonderful things. So until next time, everybody, stay safe. I'll see you all soon. Cheers.